Today, I'm sharing my favorite new watches of 2024. I'm looking back at my personal favorite releases of the year, things I would actually try to buy regardless if my store Cartier & Co sells it or not. Normally when I do this kind of list, I would put these kind of random by price, but this year I'm doing things differently. This year, I asked ChatGPT to give me superlatives that I had to fill out, which forced me to choose one watch to fit each superlative. So in this video, you'll see my choices for best value for money watch, best GMT, and best overall watch of 2024. Just to name a few. Most of these will be luxury timepieces, but it will vary as you will see. And I've narrowed this down from 30 plus watches down to around 10. And I feel great with what I chose, but since these are my choices, you may or may not see your favorite picks of the year. So just keep that in mind and be nice to me in the comment. And before we jump in, make sure you're subscribed to my channel Minimum if you love watches. I'm filming at our new store at 3663 Main Street. And now let's start with number 1, Boldest Colorway. So 2024 was a year where color was not a major focus, especially if you compare it to 2021 and 2022 when Rolex and Omega were coming out with the Oyster Perpetual and the Aquaterra colors, 10 different new dial colors, because this year color dials didn't hold as much high importance compared to doing classic colors like black. The top 3 color dials that stood out to me this year was the Grand Seiko SBGY035 Hotaka Mountain, which features a red dial manual winding spring drive and a beautiful 38.5mm case. The Omega Seamaster Aquaterra Turquoise, which was just announced in December, that adds to the overall Aquaterra collection as a great go anywhere do anything watch, and Tudor's Black Bay Chrono Pink, a watch that Tudor dedicates this color of pink to several of Tudor's ambassadors, such as David Beckham's Inter Miami team and Taiwanese pop star Jay Chou for his love of the color pink. This last one is really popular because it's over retail price. But if I had to only choose one of these watches to receive the boldest colorway, I'd actually give that to the Omega Seamaster Aquaterra Turquoise. Now, my choice has a few reasons to go along with it. Grand Seiko is known for doing colored dials, so when Grand Seiko does a great dial, and keep in mind, this is my favorite one they've done all year, it just doesn't feel as special because they're known for doing so many different color dials, especially if they're starting to reuse brush finishing, and it just makes some of the other colors don't feel as exciting when you know that there's probably going to be another color coming anyway. Sorry, Grand Seiko. And Tudor's Pink Black Bay Chrono is very striking and definitely a conversation starter, but I personally couldn't see myself owning one, and I have a feeling I get tired of it fairly quickly. Therefore, the Omega Aquaterra Turquoise is my choice. Even though the Aquaterra collection already has colors in the shade and the existing teak dial collection, the turquoise really pops, and that's thanks to the black indices, hands, and matching date wheel. Usually you'd only see black hands and indices on something like the all-white Aquaterra, but I love that the Omega chose the combination of turquoise, black, and white here. Kinds of remind me of the IWC Mercedes-AMG collaboration. Not to mention this turquoise dial starts to get darker towards the edges like a fume style. On top of that, the Aquaterra is a fantastic go anywhere, do anything watch, and it comes in 2 sizes of 38 and 41mm. I'm 38mm all the way since I love the smaller size and how it wears on my wrist. That brings me to number 2, best value for money watch. Look, we all know that there are a lot of great watch options under $1,000 because at the end of the day, great watches don't need to be expensive for you to enjoy it. I had a few on this list, such as the Seiko 5 Automatic GMT SSK023, a Field Watch GMT for $435, huge value. Or even the Spinnaker 50 Phantoms for $445, which now comes in 40mm. But there was one watch that really stood out to me, and that was the Hamilton Khaki Field Murph 38mm for $895. It's a 38mm version of the Hamilton Khaki Field watch that was featured in Christopher Nolan's Interstellar film. And I always find it funny that 10 years later, we're still talking about Interstellar, even though the movie came out a decade ago. Or 1 hour and 25 minutes of Miller's Planet, but come on, who's counting? But Interstellar is one of my all-time favorite movie, and I know several people who got this watch and even wore it with them for the Interstellar IMAX rerun. It's a classic field watch, cathedral hands. The 38mm joins the 42mm version, which was launched like 5 years ago, and I always love the Easter egg of how they made the hands jump in the film, which they hooked up the watch to a device where they can move the second hand back and forth for the scene. Teddy made a great short form video about it, which blew my mind. Which brings me to number 3, the best go anywhere, do anything category. Basically a watch that's going to be good from boardroom to beach. From workwear to weekend, you get the idea. Some of my choices this year was the IWC Engineer 40mm now in a blue dial, the Cartier Santos brown dials, the Longines Conquest, but one stood out to me and that was the Omega Aquaterra 38mm black lacquer for $6,600. I mean, the name Aquaterra literally means both sea and land. It has 150-meter water resistance, lume, a great master chronometer movement, and a date for daily use. It's really hard to beat. Plus, it's on the new bracelet from the Aquaterra shades, which feature rounded links, and this new model introduced the micro adjustment in the clasp, which a lot of people were asking for. I think doing a clean lacquered black dial was a great move to refresh the collection and just bring something good day to day. Which brings me to number 4, best GMT or travel watch. When you want to grab and go, what's the one watch you'd bring with you? This year has some great travel GMT watches. Something that you can use on a trip with a GMT feature, water resistance, lume maybe. My top 3 is the Rolex GMT Master 2 Bruce Wayne, the Longines Spirit Zulu Time Titanium 39mm, and the Tudor Black Bay 58 GMT. And my top pick of 2024 for best GMT is the Tudor Black Bay 58 GMT. Even though I like the Longines Spirit Zulu Time Titanium and I even bought that one this year, it's hard to deny what the Tudor Black Bay 58 GMT meant for collectors when it launched. First, everyone was expecting Rolex to come out with the GMT Master 2 with the Coke bezel, and when that didn't come out, but then Tudor came out with the Black Bay 58 GMT with the Coke bezel, it became the saving grace. It's the beloved Black Bay 58 steel case in 39mm, has a master chronometer movement. The bracelet also has a micro adjustment, lume. It's a great watch that I would recommend to people who are getting their first watch, or even someone who has multiple watches and just wants something that's kind of discreet but has a lot of history. So the Tudor Black Bay 58 GMT is my top choice for travel watch of the year. And if you're looking for a great everyday bag, then check out today's sponsor, Nomad Lane. So I was actually kind of surprised when Nomad Lane reached out to me because I've been actually looking for a good everyday bag. So they sent me this Origami tote, and what I like about it is it's in this nylon material, so it's rainproof, but it has tons of pockets. So normally with a tote bag, you just have one big zipper and then you throw everything in, or you have to get those packing cubes, which I also find annoying because when you need to grab something, you have to take the bag out, open the other bag. It's too much. So what I like about this is that when you open the main compartment, there's already these organizations on the side along with a hidden compartment. You have a space for a water bottle. On the outside, you have another zipper, and then you have another zipper to put more items, and you also have this hidden pocket here in the back where you can put your wallet or something quick. There's a keychain holder. It comes with the strap as well, so if you want to wear it over your shoulder, and it has a luggage pass-through, but if you don't want to use it as a luggage pass-through, you can actually zip it up and actually use it as another pocket. Just make sure to open it before you use it. It's a good everyday tote. I also like that inside the bag, it's not pitch black. A lot of times bags will be black on the inside, and when you're looking inside, you need a flashlight. So I think they designed it really well by making it easy to navigate and keep your stuff organized. So whether you're putting camera gear, your daily things, honestly, as a new parent, this is going to be a pretty good grab and go diaper bag, because I can imagine myself putting bottles here, cleaning materials, diapers down here, and everything's just kind of organized, so I don't have to dig through a lot of stuff. And it looks pretty nice and professional that I know both me and my wife would actually use it together. Anyways, Nomad Lane has a great sale going on for the holidays, so you can click the links below and check out their bags. And thanks again for Nomad Lane for sponsoring. Now, number 5, best chronograph watch. This year had a lot of chronographs. Somehow a lot of brands thought it was important for us to be timing things again, but Omega had several chronographs, even Tudor had a few, and even Tag Heuer's glass box with the Panda dial was really cool. But my personal favorite chronograph is the Zenith Chronomaster Triple Calendar. While the other options are excellent pieces, the Zenith was able to put multiple complications from a 1/10 of a second chronograph and a triple calendar, month, date, day, and moon phase into a 38mm case. The inspiration for this watch was that there was an El Primero prototype from the 1970s, a triple calendar that is rare and only 25 were made. So Zenith brought it back in 2024 with some new dial colors, and there was even a cool meteorite version Hodinkee limited edition. I think what makes me love this watch the most is the fact that it's 38mm, the proportions are great, and they're able to put that much complication into a chronograph. And again, you don't really see that much calendar and chronograph watches, especially under 20K. I mean, Patek Philippe is known for doing that, but in stainless steel, I think Zenith makes the best value and some of the best chronographs, and there's no doubt that they would make one of the best chronographs of the year. Now, number 6, best dress watch. What watch would you wear for a fancy event? I've chosen all three in precious metal, and number 1 is the Bergeron Mirage. It's a name that speaks for itself, a watch that dictates its dial layout based on the caliber inside, creating a kind of like Salvatore Dali or Crash aesthetic, combining a blend of art and technique. Number 2, the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso Tribute Chronograph in gold. One side with a gold dial and the other in open-worked chronograph. It doesn't get cooler than that. And the Cartier Santos Dumont Rewind. At first glance, a standard Santos Dumont large with a red dial. But wait, it tells the time backward? And my favorite dress watch of 2024 is the Cartier Santos Dumont Rewind. This watch has some of my favorite details or Easter eggs all packaged into a single watch. Okay, first the basic specs. And because it's in a platinum case, you also get the red ruby crown, nice detail, and it has a carnelian red stone dial, so it all matches. This is a natural red stone material linking Santos Dumont heritage to Brazil. And Brazil is significant here because Brazilian aviator Alberto Santos Dumont, or who many people consider the grandfather of aviation, is the whole reason why this watch exists. Another detail is at 4 o'clock is the watchmaker's 4 instead of Roman 4, which is IV. Long story short, this is what's called a watchmaker's 4. And not only is it traditional for clocks and watches, but by writing it out as 1, 2, 3, 4, it creates the same amount of characters on both sides of the dial if you split it down the middle. I think it's something like 14 characters on the left, 14 characters on the right. But if you wrote number 4 as IV, it would be off balance. And finally, the movement tells the time backwards or counterclockwise, which is another Easter egg. So the whole reason why watches and clocks go clockwise, or why we call clockwise clockwise, is because time was first recorded in the northern hemisphere based on the sundial. So as the sun rose in the east and set in the west, the sundial would cast a shadow on a gnomon and it would move in a clockwise direction. That's why all of our clocks and watches go clockwise. But here's the kicker. If we first recorded time in the southern hemisphere, then the shadow cast on the gnomon would go backwards or counterclockwise. And in that part of the world, a backwards clock actually makes sense. And why is this relevant? Well, let's think about all the things I mentioned on this watch. Carnelian stone dial from Brazil, Alberto Santos Dumont, Brazil. And where is Brazil located? In the southern hemisphere. So that's why I think a backwards clock for the first pilot watch makes 100% sense. It's a watch you can look at multiple ways from. It's silly because it tells the time backwards, or it's amazing because it has so many awesome details and Easter eggs behind it. And that's why I love the Cartier Santos Dumont Rewind. And I am upset because I got rejected on my application to purchase one this year. So this is one I'm just going to have to admire from afar. Number 7, the best reissue or heritage model. Sometimes it's best not to reinvent the wheel, not completely at least. So which watches made a comeback and were better than they were before? My top 3 was the Piaget Polo 79, the first Omega in Space Speedmaster, and the Cartier Tote 2 monopusher chronograph. And my pick should be obvious, it's the first Omega in Space Speedmaster. Not only because I made a full video going through all the details, but because I actually think it's better than it was before and it stands out from the classic Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch. But to make it brief, this watch is the OG compared to the Omega Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch, and while it was made for time in car racing, I love that Omega brought back the first Omega in space and then added a bunch of improvements and made it feel so different from the Moonwatch and the previous first Omega in space. Some awesome details include the dome sapphire crystal made to look like Hesalite, even down to the engraved Omega logo, a new flat link bracelet that is super comfortable and tapers at the clasp with a micro adjustment, and the Soleil blue-gray dial, which are normally quite rare to find in this Speedmaster. So it's cool that Omega is acknowledging the rarity by making something a bit more available in a modern format. On top of that, it has a modern 3861 movement, and it's just a great blend of vintage and modern together. I don't even mind the vintage lume, and it's reasonably priced at $7,900, in line with the other Speedmaster family. Which brings me to number 8. Now, sometimes a watch release can drive a lot of attention, and not in a good way. So this superlative is for most overhyped watch. This one is self-explanatory. It's not necessarily my favorite watch, but which watch made a lot of noise but kind of fell flat. And my top 3 are, I'm just kidding, there's only one. It's the Patek Philippe Cubitus. First off, when the Cubitus came out, I, like many people, thought it was fake because we saw a leak in a Fortune magazine So, it was like, is this real or not? Why would they choose Cubitus as a name? It seems kind of on the nose, like Nautilus, Cubitus, like it's a little too obvious. On top of that, a lot of accounts that I were following who were really into Patek, they were like pointing out details like, oh, it's fake because look at the date window, or look how this indice is this way. And, Patek would never release something so simple like this. But then, yeah, they actually did it. And it came out in 3 different models. One is a green dial, one is a steel and gold with a blue dial, and then one is a blue dial with white gold case with the complication. I think what hurts this watch the most, why I call it overhyped, is because obviously over the past few years, the Patek Philippe Nautilus has become really popular. It's one of the most famous integrated bracelet sport watches, harkening back to Gero Genta's design. And, even a few years ago, the Tiffany Blue Nautilus sold for like 6.5 million. So this watch has had a lot of attention on it. Now, what hurts the Cubitus is the fact that there is a Nautilus, because I think a lot of people would look at the Cubitus and look at the Nautilus and still choose the Nautilus. The Cubitus is like a square shape. It's 45 millimeters. Everyone's comparing it to the Cartier Santos. They're getting a lot of attention. And again, it's not necessarily in the best way. Regardless of all my opinions, I'm sure this watch will sell really well, but I just don't think it was well designed. It looks too much like the Nautilus, and the fact that this is like the first Patek Philippe collection in like 25 years, so there's so much attention and excitement around it, and then to see the Cubitus, I feel like people were kind of underwhelmed with it, and I don't think I'm over-exaggerating. I think people were really upset about this watch. So yeah, there's no doubt that the Patek Philippe Cubitus is the most overhyped watch of 2024. What do you guys think about this one? I don't think people are going to debate me on this one at all. Okay, which brings me to number 9, best diver watch. I struggled with this one personally because like this year, there was a lot of great diver watches. There was the Omega Seamaster Diver 300 with the no date, like the black, the silver, the America's Cup. Tudor had the Black Bay Monochrome, which is a great like everyday watch, classic colors. Longines had the new Legend Diver in new dial colors that I really like. But when I really think about which diver watch would I actually want to buy, and that's the Seiko SPB 475. Yes, it is a Seiko. I'm choosing a Seiko because I know for myself, when I go on a trip, I want a diver watch that I don't necessarily have to worry about too much. And I love this one because it's the Prospex GMT. So you have all the dive watch features like the rotating bezel, the lume, the screw-down crown, the water resistance. But then on top of that, you get the GMT and a date function, so I can track both of my time zone. Even though the GMT is a collar GMT, which means that you set both the date and GMT separately, it would already be hard to find a traveler GMT for the price of $1,600. So it's under $2,000. You get a great diver watch. It's linked to Seiko's history. It's a watch that would bring attention in the good way because it's a fun color in turquoise that kind of looks like the ocean, rather than wearing like a Rolex or something that might draw attention where I might have to like worry about where I go with it. It's a Seiko at the end of the day, but it's a fantastic Seiko. So that's my favorite dive watch of 2024. Which brings me to the final superlative. What is the best overall watch of 2024? Obviously, my best and your best might be totally different, but to help me, I'm going to use the Morgan Stanley list of the top 3 watch brands in the world: Rolex, Cartier, and Omega. So Rolex's most popular watch this year was the GMT Master 2, what people call the Bruce Wayne. Cartier Santos came out with a new dual time complication in the large size, and Omega came out with the Speedmaster Moonwatch White Dial, which was leaked on Daniel Craig's wrist last year. And I feel very confident in my choice, and it should come as no surprise that I choose the Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch White Dial. I have several reasons for choosing the Omega. First, the Moonwatch is Omega's most popular watch, most well-known watch. It is a watch used by astronauts and went to the moon. It's so popular that Swatch sold over 1 million units of this Swatch Omega Moon Swatch back a year or 2 ago. Now, white dial Speedmasters are not a new concept. There are the Omega Silver Snoopy 2 and 3, the Alaska Project Speedmaster, and a CK2998 Panda Dial Speedmaster. But keep in mind, all of those were limited edition. Meanwhile, we've had white dials in the Speedmaster Racing, the ceramic Dark Side of the Moon, White Side of the Moon series, chronoscope models, but we haven't had a classic non-limited one in the Moonwatch. And with all the latest improvements that this Speedmaster has, new tapered bracelet, latest 3861 master chronometer movement, the history of the Moonwatch, the fact that it's a 42mm but fits universally great on all wrist sizes, it's no surprise that this watch was so popular that it was even trading above retail for some time, maybe even at the same time of this video. And personally for us at Karen & Co, it's been one of the most requested non-limited edition Omega watches. Even I want one. It's the watch I want the most this year, and I still haven't gotten one. at least at the time of this recording. And those are my top 10 picks for the new watch releases of 2024. When you look back at my choices, Omega was pretty popular with 4 spots, but honestly, I think it was well deserved. Omega made some great choices this year with their releases, but also how they released it, because most brands will announce their new watch releases of the year at Watches and Wonders in March. But the problem with doing it that way is that not every watch is readily available. So if a watch is announced in March and people are excited, it doesn't sometimes get launched until like December. So people kind of forget and get distracted. And then later on, you're like, oh yeah, that came out earlier this year. So obviously Omega is not at Watches and Wonder, and they changed their release schedule to a rolling release. And they also used Daniel Craig tons of time to get people guessing about what watch they were going to release next. They're really holding on to Bond before he passes on the torch. And it's quite genius actually, because people were talking about the watch even before it launched, giving Omega free marketing. Like the White Dot Speedmaster was leaked at Planet Omega last year. This year, you see Daniel Craig wearing the new No Date Speedmaster Diver 300 at the Paris Olympics, and he's wearing other variations. It basically gave Omega a ton of free marketing, and by the time the watch launched, people already felt like they had a sneak peek, and the watch was more readily available to purchase at the time. I honestly think Omega took a page out of Grand Seiko's release schedule, and hey, it really worked. So what did you think of my choices? Let me know in the comments below what your choices were, and make sure to subscribe to my channel Minutemon if you love watches. And before you go, if you want to hear more of the best watches of 2024, I recently sat down with Ben and Craig on Wrist Enthusiast Radio, where we discussed all of our favorite watches of 2024. This video is at least 90 minutes long, and the episode should be out on Wrist Enthusiast YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcast, so please check it out. Thank you for watching all of my videos this year. I hope everyone has a safe and happy holidays, and I'll see you again in 2025. Bye.